it started with a story. Back in the 1800s, fishermen returning from a trip claimed there was treasure buried deep in Humpback Mountain. Spurred by their curiosity, why fish mysteriously appeared out of the side of the mountain, they followed a stream deep inside. Imagine their excitement and disbelief as the light from their candle flickered off the gold hues of Linville Caverns. It must have been like entering into another world, both frightening and beautiful. For well over 100,000 years, water flowing through the mountain's limestone has carved out this underground labyrinth. In 1937, nearly a century after they were first discovered, a group of businessmen formed a corporation to open the caverns to the public. The business lasted only a couple of years before a devastating flood crippled the region. The caverns were hard hit, wiping out buildings and the electrical system that powered the lights inside.
It was at that time that my grandfather bought stock in the caverns, and he was offered all of the stock, and he bought the caverns that way and started rebuilding.
Now, 3 generations later, the family is still managing the geologic treasure pretty much along the original lines, making improvements for safety and convenience, but preserving the natural beauty for all to enjoy.
A lot of caverns, their biggest draw is the size of their rooms, the size of different formations and stuff. We have a lot of color because of all the minerals inside the caverns.
Now, if you are claustrophobic, it's not a good idea to be the first one in.
Entering the caverns, the first thing you may notice is that it's a little dark, a little damp, and a little cool.
The temperature is 52 degrees and stays that way year-round. The only place that it changes is just inside the door.
The perfect environment for all kinds of critters.
We have granddaddy longlegs. They hibernate in there. We have eastern pipistrelle and brown bats. We have salamanders. We have one spider that's named after Linville Caverns. It was discovered here.
Now, as you're walking right through here, this is what we call the bedrock table. Millions of years ago, the stream bed lay right here.
The water temperature varies according to time of year that you're in there. The water, we believe, feeds from the outside from North Fork of the Catawba River, and then it flows through the caverns, and at one point it veers off to feed the bottomless pool. It's been measured over 250 feet, and they didn't touch bottom. Everybody remembers the bottomless pool and total darkness.
The lights are turned off to give visitors a true sense of what it's like without the benefit of illumination. Total darkness is startling, except perhaps to the bats and the so-called blind fish.
They're not born blind, but sort of film covering comes across their eyes as they stay in the dark for so long. They have sight to a point, but we call them blind trout.
Linville is considered an active cavern. The formations that decorate the inside are still forming, drop by drop, sparked by the rainfall on Humpback Mountain.
It takes about 3 days from the time we get rain on the outside for the water to make its way down through the mountain and through the cracks and crevices to where it's dripping in there.
A drop emerges from the cracks and crevices, carrying the basic ingredient needed to create the underground marvels, the mineral calcite. No longer able to hold the minerals collected as the water percolates downward, the drop deposits its tiny mineral load as a single crystal. Billions and billions of drops later, formations take shape. It's easy to see shapes in the formations the drops have made. Drying tobacco leaves. Or a wedding scene with bride, groom, and priest.
We've had people that have wanted to have weddings there. We did have one couple, they weren't actually married there, but they sort of said a few vows there. In this caverns, unlike others where you stand back and look at large rooms and large formations, here you're right next to formations, but that gives you a better look and a better view of what's actually going on in the caverns. This is our Guess What formation. It's the one formation that we ask all our visitors to name because it looks like so many different things. Behind me is the Frozen Niagara. This is the largest and oldest stalactite in the caverns, starting from up at the ceiling and forming down. Just down in this corner is the heart of the caverns. It looks like a heart. And above your heads is the profile of George Washington. We ask from the beginning that you don't touch the formations. When you touch it, the oil from your skin stays on a rock, and that prevents the mineral from adhering to the rock to cause it to grow anymore. And in the narrowest sections, we don't mind people touching the formations because we don't want it to close up any tighter.
Watch your heads as you come along.
So there are low rocks and low places where you do have to duck and watch your head, and there's one, we call it the headache rock. Most people hit that. You're looking at the fish and don't realize that rock's there. We've all hit it too, most of us. I definitely have.
Modern improvements such as electric lighting have made the beauty of this cave readily visible. It's hard to imagine, however, what early explorers might have seen, with only a candle or tiny hand lantern to light their way.
In 1884, Thomas Edison sent a team headed by William W. Hidden. He was in search of platinum to be used in Edison's incandescent bulb, and he was in Linville Caverns. He went as far back as you can possibly go, past where a tour goes, and didn't find the platinum he was looking for, but everybody in his team scratched their names on the rock back there, so it's called Signature Rock.
W.E. Hidden might not have found platinum, but he's credited with discovering another mineral in the area that's since been given his name, Hiddenite. This far back in the caverns, your senses have a tendency to play tricks on you.
When you're in there, especially getting towards the back of the caverns and you know you're the only ones in there, you can hear, it sounds almost like a woman singing way back in the back. It's just the water coming across the rocks, but it scares a lot of people.
The watery siren echoes her song into the darkest part of the caverns.
There is more to the caverns. It goes back about the same amount that the public sees. We don't intend to do any more opening of the caverns because it would endanger what's already there.
And what is there has been hundreds of thousands or perhaps millions of years in the making. It's hard to comprehend the extreme age of something like the Linville Caverns, but it's not hard to be thankful for the care the attraction has received from Sarah Davis and her family over many decades. It's pretty well assured that future visitors will see just as much beauty and spectacle as people visiting Linville Caverns today.